Hello, everyone. So, finally, we are here. I know all are very excited to meet our today's guest, and here he is with us. So,
And
without any further delay, I would just ask Nakul to please introduce yourself, Nakul, to our audience. Uh,
uh, yeah. So my name is Nakul. I am currently studying in Symbiosis Institute of Design. I'm a graphic design student, but I also like to write stories, poems, and I'm generally interested in user experience and learning more about the design process.
that's so nice, Nakul. I would here like to tell our audience that he is a award-winning designer, by the way, for all your reference. And would you like to talk something about that, Nakul, now, or maybe
Sure, yeah.
yes,
Yeah, I
yes,
can give a small intro and then we can
please.
continue later. So, ma'am was our mentor. There was a humor design challenge. We had to design something for if the corona pandemic never ended, and there had like the entire design process had to be followed. We had to identify a problem, then give a solution. So we tackled the solution of misinformation and miscommunication, and ma'am was with us throughout the process, guiding us and telling us, nudging us generally that okay, this might be good, but it's up to you. And it was ma'am gave us a lot of freedom about what to choose, and so basically it worked out very well. Like my team, I had four other people in my team. They were also very they were very active and they were very enthusiastic about it, so that worked out. Everyone had their jobs and we did it well. So
Yes,
in the end we made a system to communicate the corona related information in a better way.
yes, yes. So it was a wonderful problem that they had identified, and very different problem from what we saw from other people who were competing in the same challenge. So that's what I liked, and though it was looking very challenging initially, that we were not able to like come up with or think of any solution then and then, but still it was something that we all felt that it had a good potential. And that's how the whole team, they really worked so hard and enthusiastically, along with whatever they are doing, of course. This was something extracurricular that they were following, and I was really happy to see the way they were following the process and they were taking the feedback. It was wonderful working with that team. Great, Nakul. So here
Yes.
we would like to know, Nakul, from you that you are already into a design program and you've been working on many design projects and you've been following the process. So how has it been, the journey? Like when you first initially tried using this process with your first project, how was it? Was it
uh,
really easy, or we would just like to hear it from you, please?
Sure. So the first time I used the design process was also for a design challenge. For the first year, our college mainly focuses on traditional skills. So
Right.
like soft skills, drawing, how to get straight lines, how to draw perspective and stuff. So
Right.
and after that we came home basically. So there was Corona, and then online classes happened, and college was figuring out with their schedule. And in the meantime I participated in another design competition organized by Wacom and IIT Hyderabad, which was also about designing something for the world in pandemic. So the thing is, we were three people working. A friend of mine from NIFT Delhi, his another friend, and I was here in Chandrapur. So we had to work remotely, and first we had to figure out how to work together, and then the entire thing came at us like in a fast pace. So it was like if you give a child a toy that he wants, but it is packed in that clamp packaging. Like something great is in there, but you can't open it. You get a bit frustrated at first, but when you open it, you're like, "Oh, I needed this for a long time, from a long time." So it
Yes, that's
was like
such a simple analogy, Nakul. Yes, very true. That happens.
yeah, so for the first time, it was like that. It was a tad bit frustrating because there were all this terminology, there was vocabulary that I could not understand. I had to read through it. So the first time I get introduced to it, it is explained in very simple terms. But then I am confused as to how to apply it to my project. Then my friends are
Implementation.
confused, and
Correct.
it is
Correct.
a compounded confusion. So then somehow we figured out a way. Initially we had a thought, it wasn't yet an idea. So it was like we knew we had to do something with irrelevance. We wanted to tackle the problem of people feeling irrelevant, since the pandemic
Hmm.
was this one huge entity. The virus in itself was this huge entity which made people feel like they could not control their lives. They felt irrelevant in general.
True. True.
So we tried to convert that thought into an idea. So what we did was we researched a bit. This is even before the design process starts. So we tried to research a bit about what can irrelevance be tackled with. So we thought that stories, because everyone loves to share their stories, everyone loves to be heard. So we went ahead, and then
Mhm.
there was this entire process followed. We were like, okay, maybe this was something I did all along, because design is something that humans know intuitively. It's just that learning it makes it more obvious.
Correct.
And we were like, okay, we did this earlier, but now the thing is we know where we are going wrong. So design process is like not a checklist, I would say, but it's like a milestone. So you know that you
Right.
have reached here, and maybe you have skipped something, so you go back and then
Go
you
back.
fix it. And
True. True. True.
so
Great.
that's
Great.
about it. Yeah, we made a system again for storytelling and to people to hear to other people's stories.
Okay,
Yeah.
great, 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 great. So it's interesting to know, Nakul, that were there any mentors guiding you then, or you
No, no, no.
explored it by yourself? So that's
Yes.
that's a totally different way of learning it, as you. But the very best way, I feel, that you know something and you learn it and you get better at it just by trial and error. I think that's such an
Yes.
important part of design process, that it's not only thinking and putting things in your head, coming up with ideas, but actually implementing it. So it's a very good, as you mentioned, a guide, step by step guide, maybe to what next. Just let's try and
Yeah.
test how it works. Very good. Yes, yes. So, okay, now after you said that you explored it in a design challenge where you were not guided by any of the mentors. So, how
Yes,
was
ma'am.
it when, after that, you must have done some projects in your school, like design school program? Did you do that, or you didn't get
Sorry,
any
ma'am, can
chance?
you repeat your question?
Yes, I said that after
Like I
that.
could not hear.
Yes, yes, yes. I said, having done that design challenge, which was not part of your assignment. So then you
Yeah.
must have done few assignments where
Yeah.
you followed the design process and where probably you were guided by your
Mm-hmm.
faculty members. So then, how was that experience? What,
So
like,
yeah, every project like in
having tried it by yourself and then being guided in your so it's like exploring a thing on your own and then probably exploring that same thing with guide a guided tour.
yes.
Yeah. So yes, please.
Uh, yes, sorry to cut you off before, but yeah, so the thing is, when you are guided, the best thing that happens is you have a person out of the frame of reference who looks at you unbiasedly. So
Yes.
that person tells you that, okay, you think that you have done enough, but the thing is, I know I am a professional. Here is where you're going wrong. As a student,
Right. Right.
okay, I have a habit of being a bit rebellious and saying that no, you don't know what happened. But then when you actually think about it, when that seed has been planted, later you are like, okay, maybe this actually doesn't work. And then you work towards it and you fix the problems. You again go towards the mentors, and then they also recognize that, okay, this person is good in this part of the process, but needs working here.
Hmm.
If you're working alone, what you do is you try to reach an aggregate or an average everywhere,
Hmm.
although you have your likings, but still you don't go towards the things that you don't like.
mm, mm,
When there is a person overseeing you, you are forced to do that because you are answerable to someone.
mm. Correct,
And
correct.
in general, having a mentor, it's a roller coaster, of course, but in general, it feels like comforting to know that if and even if you make your mistakes, there is some cushioning. You can fall back. Someone is there to guide.
Right, 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 right. Yes, great, great. So now, Nakul, it's been how many projects you have already worked on in your
Uh,
like?
So, design projects, if I say following the process, there were some projects where I had to skip through some parts of the process because the requirements were different. Like
Right,
time limits were there. I had to
yes,
do some things in a day.
correct, correct.
But about 4 to 5 projects, which I can definitely say that I have followed the design process. There are some which have
Okay.
incomplete process, but yeah.
Okay, so we would like to know here, Nakul, from you that how do you feel now, your comfort level at implementing the design process, having done these many projects now? Uh, that's the one question, and later on, I would also like to hear from you something about like um, how is it like. Okay, let's first answer this one. That what is
Yes,
your
ma'am.
comfort level? Yes, yes,
So like there, I'll introduce it. So there are 5 steps, 5 general steps to the design process. You first empathize with the people, you then define it, then you ideate, you design it, and then you take the reviews, and then you go back.
okay,
So I am very comfortable as of now with the empathizing part and the uh, defining part because these are the preliminary steps and I have worked towards them. They involve a lot of reading,
mm,
researching, talking to
mm,
people.
mm,
The designing and then the actual implementation part, it needs a bit of polishing because it requires soft skills also. Like I need to know the softwares, I need to know what fits the needs of people, what color has a different effect on
mm,
people,
mm.
why would the this won't work, why would this work. So that's in process, but I am
Right.
currently comfortable doing that. Yeah.
Okay, okay, okay. Great, 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 great. So we would like to know from you, Nakul, now whether uh, like Nakul before joining this particular program, and now after knowing the design process and being implementing it for long, what changes have been there from earlier Nakul and the current Nakul?
I'd like to share something like a PPT of sorts to explain this in a better way because
Great, please,
first
please.
thing that has happened is that I understood design in a better way.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
So that happened, and once just tell me once my screen is visible.
yes. Yeah, just a second. Yes, yes,
It is visible, yeah.
yes, yes.
So the first thing, okay, a disclaimer for everyone watching: the things discussed have been derived from a personal experience and study. These may be different for you, but this is the way I understand design, and these have helped me to understand design and other things in a better way. Also, constructive feedback is accepted and appreciated. So my personal belief is that design fits in where the intersection of two things, like design, rather than being a field of its own, is more like a school of thinking. You take any two things, you have to, if you want to join them or if you want to bring cohesion between them, that in the space between there, design exists. Or design can also take much more space, but it can exist in smaller spaces and in the intersections.
Okay,
Like you take technology, you take educations, you have apps that teach people.
right, right,
There comes a big chunk of design. You take communication and you take politics, maybe you have political advertisements that teach people about something or have a
right,
propaganda of their own. So
right,
anything thinkable, you join it, you want to bring cohesion in them. That's where design comes in.
Okay,
uh,
that's a very different way of looking at it. Nakul. Very good. Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. So the design process, it's basically what you do when you cook food. And yeah, the step one is you realize that people around you are hungry, and then you're like, oh, maybe I should cook. That is, you empathize with them. You know that, okay, you can get hungry. They are hungry. You should cook. Then you are like, what does everyone want to eat? Chinese, Mexican, maybe paneer. So you then pull up the recipes, adjust them according to your needs. So that is, you ideate. You basically think about what can be done. If someone is diabetic, you won't add a lot of sugar in their sweets. Or if someone
Right.
is allergic to nuts, you won't do that. You adjust it
Right.
according to the people.
You are thinking about more options, what, how it could be made in different ways is what I
Yes,
believe.
ma'am. Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
You
You
alter it
multiple
according to
ideas.
people's needs. Yeah.
Right, right, right,
Then you cook the food. That is, you design it. You break the omelette. You put some cilantro. Like, you are an artist. You plate it, and yeah, basically you
right,
design it.
right,
And then you go to the table, and when people eat it, you're like, "How does it taste?" People are like, "Oh, it tastes very good. It's definitely good. Maybe a tad bit of salt should have been added." So then you're like, "Okay, next time I'll do it." So yeah, that's
and
the design process in its
wow,
whole.
wow,
And you empathize, define, ideate, design, and then you take the review.
yes,
So for your question, the design gives you vocabulary to understand and observe the world in a better way. The design process is the structure of journey you take while doing so. So by vocabulary, every profession in its own, be it writing, be it business, gives you a vocabulary to look at the world and to understand it. But what design gives you is a vocabulary that can be applied everywhere, and which is centered towards humans, basically to the people that they are serving.
right, right, right.
So
Great.
that's.
That's your wow, wow. I would say that's a very deep understanding about it. Why I am saying deep is because, Nakul, many a times it happens that when you are doing this, uh, I mean, you when you are in a design program, you learn. And but if you are not, you learn the process, you do all the assignments, but if you are not aware about the vast impact that design could have and how it can get connected with the society, the lives that you see around us, then it becomes a very superficial kind of an activity. But with the way you explained it, that it is there in every small step that we do, in every small activity that we do, that shows that how broadened your perspective is towards design, and maybe towards any kind of problem solving, that any activity that we are doing. And having that kind of broad perspective at this stage is something which is very commendable, Nakul. I really appreciate.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you,
yes,
ma'am.
yes.
Also, to put it in a short way, you observe things in a better way. Since
Yes,
you know how to describe them, you are a bit
correct,
more comfortable exploring things.
right.
You don't get saddened if you have failure. Like, you get
Hmm,
angered maybe, but you don't get saddened.
right.
And lastly, you take a reductionist approach. So, small
Hmm,
example, pandemic. My brother and I had the same room, like the
okay,
room behind me.
okay,
Uh,
okay.
he has to do his own work. I have to do my own work. There is a lot of chaos. I have two dogs. Everything comes
Okay.
like everything collides together. I'm like, I can't work here anymore. I start thinking, what are the options? So, like, this room used to be a storeroom. So I'm like,
Okay.
maybe a study table will work. Okay.
Okay.
Then you start thinking, you break things down. You're like, okay, what do I need silence. How can I get silence? I can maybe a new workspace. Where is the space? So you're like, okay, the storeroom can be rearranged. It's okay if I can sit with grains, and I can sit with boxes of
Yes,
filled with
yes,
stuff. So yeah,
yes.
that's the
That's
way you start.
exactly. This is what I also resonate here with you, Nakul, where I feel that once you get more engaged, more involved in the process. You look at all the problems as some kind of an opportunity, and it's always that
Yes.
you try to come up with a solution, and you become more aware about it, your own responsibility, that how you can solve it. It's not anymore that, oh my god, I am stuck up in this situation and blaming on different circumstances, that this is not good, the system is not good, there's no space, as you said. That's the approach generally most of the people have, or people those who are not aware about their own responsibility as a problem solver they have. But once you become more and more engaged into this process, it's like uh, you get a very positive attitude towards looking at life, and you get that approach or mindset where you want to come up with solution and make things better.
You
Yeah.
feel a bit empowered to act.
Yes,
Also,
yes,
side
yes,
note, this is not always the case. Like people do feel bad about some things, people do feel helpless, but most of the times when you can act, you tend to act on things.
true, true,
Yes.
true. Yes, yes, very well explained, Nakul. Thank you so much. So actually, that was one of my next question, that where I wanted you to ask that what were the various skill sets that you think that you have developed because of the learning of this design process, or so you already explained with a beautiful example that how you created your own space among
Yeah.
whatever things those were.
Grains.
Yes, yes, those were available. That's really great. And I think, yeah. So the next last thing, Nakul, that we would like to listen from you is about. See, I have this vision that where I want to take this design process to young children. What I believe is this is a process and it can be learned at any age, because
Yes.
it's all about knowing that step by step methodology and following it and implementing it for various solutions that for the problems. So if they are exposed to this methodology at young age, by the time they are ready to take whatever profession they want to have, or whatever they are choosing in their lives, they would be more able to apply their creative potential in whatever they are doing. So that's the whole point. So I would like to understand from you that what are your views on this, like taking this particular design process to young children.
I feel it is a great idea because, as I mentioned, it's more like a school of thinking rather than being something very different.
Hmm.
And I like the way you have explained it. Like it's something that should be taught at a younger age. So, just like I feel, uh, it's not very rigid in structure. A design process is something that can be adapted for different people at different ages and of different interests. So, like for example, I am a person who likes to write poetry, and I remember the time when people taught me the something related to language, and I was like, okay, maybe this sounds great to do. Like it must be fun to be a poet. Similarly, design can be introduced in a way that people associate design with something that they want to do.
True,
Like
true.
maybe students can be made to write stories in a group, like something that we do, something
Yes,
that we do as of now. And
yes,
as design students, they can be, because not stories are necessarily universal, like they are
yes,
not something that is exclusive to older people. So
right.
people who like to write stories can be made to write stories of their own in a group, given and introduced by the design process in a small way. Then
Yes,
the people who like sports, maybe they can
they can.
given a certain example, like okay, you have this many people, or you have 2 versus 10, how will you play? You have a lot of constraint, how do you
Right,
plan to go against it? The
right.
only thing is we already use the design process. We sometimes call it jugaad, we sometimes call it being
Yes,
extremely creative, but
yes,
you
yes, yes.
only need to tell the people, you know, need to make them aware that this what you did was design process right there.
True.
Maybe if you realize it, then you can use it more often. So
Yes,
yeah.
yes, 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 yes. Very well explained. Thank you so much, Nakul. And I
Thank you.
think that is it. In the end, if Nakul, you want to share something uh, just for our audience, whatever, like related to design or a simple things, whatever, that any story that you would like to share, any advice that you would like to share with people
Uh,
before we
like,
close the session.
yeah, in
If
general,
you want to
even if
share a poem of yours.
okay, but yeah, no, it won't be a good way to end it. I'd like to just say that uh, it happens. It happened with me. Learning about new things, it happens, still happens with me. Learning about new things is a bit tough, but the only way, or like as of now, for people who are not familiar with design process but are still watching this, or people who are familiar with design process and want to utilize it to the things that they want to learn,
Hmm.
learning things can be difficult at start because your brain is not used to it. Like, again, consistency, and the next thing is realizing what you're doing, like acting upon it.
True.
Me writing, I was writing poetry since I was a child, maybe fifth, sixth. But the thing is, I have been writing the same kind of poems until 12th, and I realized that it hits me like, okay, this is not the kind of poems a person who is writing since 6 years should write. That should be better. Then I start to analyze it. So it takes a bit more effort. It's a bit taxing, but people can do it. People are awesome. So yeah.
Yes, 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 yes. Great, great. That's a wonderful. Some of your friends have been asking for poem. So, are you
Okay,
sure?
I'll just check if I have my diary here. Okay, I
So,
don't.
thank you to all the viewers who have joined and are demanding for the poem. Here he is now looking for it, and yes, you would be presenting it, Nakul.
Okay,
Or
this one. Okay, yeah, I'll share this one. Has its
oh,
flaws. I have written it a few days ago.
okay.
The title of the poem is "I Started My Life." I
Mm-hmm.
started my life just now, a few seconds before we met. The fog cleared up somehow, even open, now my eyes can see. The revolving door has come to a halt. The wind was never the problem. All it needed was to get stuck, to know it was okay to get stuck. The finish line is still far ahead. The gunshot was way before. Still, here is where my life starts, a bit late with a clearer head.
Wow, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful.
Thank you.
Very profound, very profound. Very nice. So I think that's a wonderful way to end our show today here, Nakul. I
Yes,
really
ma'am.
thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
And it was a pleasure you being here and sharing those wonderful experiences and stories and poem in the end.
Yes,
So,
ma'am.
yes, thank you so much, Nakul, for being here.
Thank you, ma'am, for calling me. It has
Yes,
been from mentoring me, us rather, our team, and then it has
it's a
been
It
great.
was a
Yeah.
pleasure working with the fantastic team like you, energetic and enthusiastic. Yes. Okay.
Thank,
Okay.
thank you, ma'am.
Bye.
Bye,
Bye.
ma'am.
Night.